Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about distributive property and how we use distributive property to simplify algebraic expressions. So let's go ahead and get started. Scrolling, that's a helpful thing. So distributive property is just doing multiplication, and we distribute it over either an addition sign or a subtraction sign. We never distribute over multiplication or division, just over addition and subtraction. So here are a couple of examples, like if you have something on the outside of the parentheses, you multiply both terms or multiple, however many terms there are inside, by that number on the outside, and then simplify it that way. Okay? Another thing, and same thing with subtraction, just remember that the c is the negative term, so you're multiplying a by negative c, and vice versa and all that fun stuff. Keep in mind, we use distributive property only for algebraic stuff, okay? So if there's a variable inside the parentheses, we'll distribute it. But if it's all numbers, we can just simplify the parentheses first and then move on. Let's do a couple examples. Some things did not fade like I wanted them to, so we'll go ahead. So the first thing we need to do is distribute this 8 on the outside, because that's being multiplied by the group 1 plus 2n. So we multiply the 8 by the 2n and by the 1, because those are our two terms. Yeah, there, see? So I'm writing it out all so you guys can see every step and understand it. You could just do the multiplication and write it down. Okay, so I'm doing 1 times 8 plus the 2n plus 8. So 1 times 8 is just 8, and 2n times 8 is 16n. And that's as far as I can go because there's no like terms I can combine. So that's it. That's my answer. Okay? And over here, what's being multiplied with this parentheses, not the x, because there's a subtraction sign in between. So really, there's an invisible 1. Where is it? There. Okay? So whatever's right next to the parentheses is what's getting distributed. Because there was no number right next to it, I put the invisible 1 in. So really, it's being multiplied by this negative 1. That's what I'm going to multiply these two terms by, is the negative 1. So I distribute that out. So the negative x is still going to hang out in the front. So I've got negative x plus the negative 1 times 3x plus the negative 1 times the x squared. I threw a plus sign in here because that subtraction sign is being moved with the 1 and it's being multiplied out. It's being treated like a negative. So I just put in a plus sign so we know we're adding these. Okay? Then I can just do the multiplication. So I get something. Where'd it go? I get negative x plus negative 3x plus negative x squared. Now, negative x and negative 3x are like terms, so I can combine them. And I get negative 4x plus negative x squared. And then if I want to, I can go ahead and take care of these double signs. Adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting, so I can just say negative 4x minus x squared. And that would be my answer. Okay? So you guys are going to try a couple on your own. Hint, if it's just a sign right in front of the parentheses, throw in that invisible 1. So it really becomes a negative 1. Okay? So try those two on your own, and we're going to go ahead and move on. Now, when we're putting it all together, when we're just trying to simplify algebraic expressions, we will use combining like terms and distributive property, and sometimes they happen in the same problem. So when we have to do both, there's a certain order we do. We want to distribute first because we want to know what all the terms are after the multiplication so we know what to combine. Then we can combine like terms. So distribute and then combine. Okay? So example 2, we got a lot. So here we got the 2 in front of the parentheses, so we distribute that to every single term, all 3 of them. Okay? So that's the negative 2, the negative 5q, and the 8. And then here we have a negative sign or a minus sign in front of the next parentheses. So we highlight that negative 1, that invisible negative 1, and we're distributing that to every single term in there. Okay? So when we do it all, again, you can do the multiplication straightforward. You don't have to write it out. But I'm doing 2 times negative 2 plus 2 times the negative 5q plus 2 times the 8 plus, I put a plus sign because I've been using that minus sign as a negative, plus the negative 1 times 3q plus negative 1 times y plus negative 1 times negative 3. Okay? So now I can go ahead and do the multiplication, and I get negative 4 plus negative 10q plus 16 plus negative 3q plus negative 1y plus 3. now I can go ahead and combine like terms. Sorry, that's my computer. So I got -4, the positive 16, and the positive 3. The -10q and the -3q can be combined, and then the -1y, it has no like term, so it's just going to hang out there. So I combine my constants, which is the -4, 16, and 3, and I combine my q's. So I get 15 minus -13q plus -1q, or -1y. And then again, I'm just going to take care of these double signs. Adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting, so I put it back. 15 minus 13q minus y. And that's it. So now you guys are going to try this one on your own. It's not so bad. It's got a 3 in front of it, but remember, keep that sign in front of the 3. So really, you're distributing the -3. Okay? That was my hint for you. So we'll go over these next class. This is a very short video. You're welcome. And if you have any questions, write them down. But we'll practice this stuff next class. And yeah, that's it. See ya.